Welcome back to the channel. It's Larry here. Fun fact, I was sitting in my music studio not too long ago, and I was going through all these old albums that I have. I mean, literally hundreds upon hundreds that were really collecting dust. And I pulled this gem out, Steely Dan's first album from 1972. And what's really interesting about this is I don't think I played this album more than probably 3 times. And those 3 times was probably for the song Reeling in the Years, because I remember there being some pretty good guitar work on this. This is Steely Dan's first album. It was put out in 1972. And one of the first sentences here on the sleeve, on the back, is pretty interesting. I can't read it's a little bit faded, but it says, this could very well be one of which the pundit spoke, regarding how many times the world was saw through a rock and roll band. I don't know what that means, but the next sentence is, I think, a little more poignant. The crisp and exacting music of Steely Dan has been a long time coming, although the group itself was formed only shortly before this inspired recording was made. Can you imagine? This is full of gems, and they had just put the band together, created the band, all the musicians, just prior to putting this album out, and it's a classic. I mean, it's a great album. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna jump into Do It Again. Almost a Latin beat. It is a Latin beat, actually. The sprinkling of jazz. good system or headphones on right now. Very tasty riff. And the guitar, really nice touch. Fade. Wow, another gem by Steely Dan. I mean, do you expect anything other than great songs from the band Steely Dan? I mean, they were just really outrageous. Considering this is their first album, it really is astonishing that they can just build songs like this. I'm just trying to check okay, so we have Jeff Baxter, guitar, and steel guitar, by the way. Walter Becker, electric bass guitar. Okay, so bass. Denny Diaz, guitar. Donald Fagen, of course, keyboards, electric piano. And Jim Hodder is on drums, percussion, and vocals. Now, the last song we did by Steely Dan was Asia. And we had, it was a Steve Gadd, I think. Yeah. And here we have David Palmer on vocals. There was also Elliot Randall on guitar, Victor Feldman on percussion, because you notice at the beginning of the song there was a little bit of Latin percussion going on. I imagine that's Jeremy Richardson. And then you had Snooky Young on the flugelhorn, Clyde E. King, Shirley Matthews, Vanetta Fields all in the background vocals on the song Brooklyn and Kings. Someone just commented on Asia about that, so shout out to you. And this was produced by Gary Katz. Just stunning. Now, I've got a kind of cute little story about this song. I learned about what this song was about when I was in about grade 6 in music class in my little tiny elementary school at that time, in my little rural corner of Atlantic Canada. And I got to tell you, my music teacher was really hip. It's funny when you grow up in these sort of small communities, you get some really interesting teachers, and the music teacher was really hip. And I remember sitting there and we would learn songs from Fleetwood Mac, Elton John, and it wasn't really my cup of tea, that type of music at that particular time. Because I grew up with older siblings. Everybody was older in my household, so it was like Led Zeppelin, The Who, and all that kind of stuff going on at home. But, on the gentler side, this music teacher, we covered Do It Again. We learned how to sing it. She would play it on piano. Can you imagine? I imagine she was only about 30 years old at the time. I'm thinking she was an old woman, at that time. And, she was like, she's easily my daughter's age at this particular point in my life. It's amazing. But we learned about what this song is about. And I'll tell you what it's about really briefly here. Do It Again refers to a character that continues to commit transgressions after transgressions after transgressions. So you'll notice there's like 3 main sections to this song. And the first one is he committed murder. And then he ran off to Mexico. I believe it was Mexico or somewhere. Anyway, he left the country. They caught him, brought him back, tried him, punished him, etc. So then he goes on to gambling addiction. I don't really believe in addictions, but that's a different story. But he becomes a binge gambler, runs into trouble. Back, Jack, do it again, right? So he runs into trouble with gambling. No, that was actually the 3rd section of the song. The second section, to complete all 3 sections, but the second section, I'm a little out of sequence here, was he meets a crazy woman, like a very seductive woman, gets into big trouble with her, and, gets burnt. And, then he went on to the gambling spree and all that stuff, that part of the story. And then the song just kind of ends on that really nice, smooth jazz rock fusion, which is just such a tasty genre for that particular era. And who does it better than Steely Dan? I mean, there was a couple of Canadian bands. I mean, for you Canadians out there, there might be a few of you. UZEB from Montreal was like one of the most remarkable jazz fusion bands, kind of jazz rock fusion bands. I saw them a couple times live in bars, once in Vancouver and one time in Ottawa at an outdoor concert. It's actually where I saw them for the first time, and I was like, wow, the musicianship was off the charts. Okay, enough about them. Back to Steely Dan. I mean, let's rate this song. It's a really cool song. It's their first try at putting this band. I mean, they had just put the band together, built this great record, their first record, 1972, and Do It Again is the first song. So I imagine it's like one of their very first creations, and this song easily gets an A plus. It is the storytelling again. I mentioned on Asia, the last song I covered here last week. The thing is that Steely Dan has all the elements of great musicianship. I mean, we talk about other greats like Rush, Pink Floyd, Dire Straits, of course, Mark Knopfler and his guys. Steely Dan's right there in the mix, because they have the musical talent, they have the storytelling, and they just have that sound that just draws you in, and they can hit you emotionally as well, right? I mean, there was parts of Asia, I mean, that just, oof. Wow, we're covering some really great music on the channel here, folks. Listen, I encourage you, as usual, please put your comments down there. As you know, I answer every single person that comments that. Any thoughts, feedback, your experience with Steely Dan, or any other topic for that matter. I have written an essay about this song and my experience with the song down below. It's in my Substack. It's kind of pre-launched, but when you hit the link, it'll take you right to the story. And if you want to sign up, I mean, I write about other stuff too. It might bore you, to be quite honest. But every week when I do these videos, I put an essay together with it, which I'll start on right now because, I'm in the flow right now. Okay, folks, well, listen, big week. We're post Labor Day. We're back at it. Lots going on. You got the U.S. election, of course, which is sucking most of the air out of the room. We've got multiple wars going on. We have a very disjointed Canadian situation right now where it seems that people are on edge, and really want to change things up. I can't say too much about that because I'm sitting in Canada at this moment, and there are some pretty strict regulations about what I can or cannot say, and that's part of the problem. Brazil has its problems going on right now. I mean, wow, it's hard to not be distracted by all this stuff because, I'm a Brazilian citizen too. And, with X being canceled or being blocked, and then people using VPN to try to access are being fined 9,000 US dollars per day. 9,000 US dollars, you know how much that is in Brazilian dollars? That's like 60,000 Brazilian dollars. That is that's double the average yearly income in Brazil. What's going on? It's times like this that's enjoyable because we get to look at creation. We look at people like these guys who create something beautiful for the world. And I say these guys, including the women, the backup vocals, etc. It just gives us that extra opportunity to unplug from that negativity, which is all engulfing. Look, if you want to be a happier person, it's just some personal advice. Take it for what it is. Maybe just unplug yourself from whether you're, stuck on one type of news that confirms your bias about how you think should be, or the other that confirms your bias the way life should be and talked about. Just unplug from it all. Because look, I'm going to tell you quite simply, I've been around the world many times. I know I talk pretty stupid on these videos sometimes, just because my excitement takes over my brains in a sense. But I can tell you right now, I mean, it's one and the same. You don't have to take sides. You don't have to be divided and, be tribal. And it's not necessary. We're all in this together. You know what? If we look up in the sky tomorrow and there's a meteorite rushing to Earth, we'd be hugging our neighbors pretty quickly, regardless of their ilk. I'm just going to say their ilk because I don't know. I just, you see this, if you're watching the news or you're, going through YouTube, looking at a lot of political stuff, a lot of media lies, and, just people trying to grab attention with, I don't have to. I don't have to lecture you. I'm not lecturing you. I'm just talking about it. I know the people that are watching this channel have an intellect, have a an appreciation for fine music, classic music. I look at the analytics. Most of the people watching my channel are over 45, quite a bit up, I might add. So 45 is kind of on the lower end. Now I do have a little group of 18 to 25-year-olds are kind of popping up a little bit more. They're starting to appreciate real music again. Now that is a good sign. Anyway, folks, wherever you are, have a great day. I'll see you soon with more from this album. I think the next one will be Reeling in the Years.